So another method that can be used to help you locate the centric relation position for your patient is with the use of a leaf gauge. And a leaf gauge is really a series of thin card-like, paper-like leaves, if you will, that the more leaves you have together, the thicker obviously it's going to be. So with most people that have a normal class 1 tooth relationship with a millimeter or two of overbite and overjet with those anterior teeth, you would probably start with 1/3 to 1/4 of these leaves. So we'll grab a bundle like that. We'll insert between the anterior teeth, between the incisors, and just instruct the patient to close as if they were closing on their back teeth. So go ahead, November, and slide forward and back. Okay, any teeth touching?
No.
Yeah, and see, that's quite a few, so I wouldn't expect them to touch there. So go ahead and open. It's important while we're doing this that you just kind of relax your teeth. A lot of times, if a patient's muscles tend to be a little tight, we'll just put a couple of cotton rolls in. They can rest on that, because if they happen to bring their back teeth together, they're going to reprogram the positioner muscles, and that's the thing we're trying to undo, is that programming, so that we can get a seated condylar pivoting closure. So we'll take half roughly of those out, and Tanya, if you'll grab those 2 cotton rolls, please. Very good. We'll insert and close and then slide forward and back. Okay, any back teeth touching?
No.
Go ahead and open. Good. And we'll half it again. So we're down to about 4. So now go ahead and close and slide forward and back. Anything touching?
No.
Okay, good. Open again. We'll now take 1 out, close, slide forward and back. Anything touching there as you go forward and back a couple of times?
No.
Nothing at all. Okay, go ahead and open. Okay, so now we'll go to 2 thicknesses. Go ahead and close and slide forward and back. Okay, anything touching in the back?
No.
Kind of tap on the back as if you were going to bite those back teeth together. Anything touching?
Yes, when I bite harder.
When you bite a little harder. Okay, all right. Now go ahead and open. Good. And we're down to 1. And close. Slide forward and back. And try to get your back teeth. Anything touching in the back as you do that? Okay. Both sides or just one?
Both.
Okay. So go ahead and open now. And close. Slide forward and back. Anything touching?
No.
Okay. Tap as if you were going to close the back. Still nothing touching.
On the right side.
Just a little bit. Okay. Go ahead and open. So her centric relation and centric occlusion, or her maximum intercuspation and centric relation, are probably quite close. There is a slight discrepancy, very likely. The leaf gauge is not an exact, every time you find, every time you're going to use it, you're going to find centric relation. But it is one more tool to help you in that effort. So what we would do then, if we wanted to use this to help us in finding centric relation, is we would introduce enough leaves to where we know she can't touch her back teeth together, but they're close. So let's go to 3, close again, and slide forward and back. Okay, and tap as if you were going to bite on your back teeth. Anything touching at all? So they're just slightly out with 3. Now go ahead and open. Let's maybe put 1 more in, and then we'll do the same thing. Close, forward and back, all the way, tap. Anything touch at all? So we can use, go ahead and open now. We can use this and some bite registration paste in the posterior. Go ahead and open wide, and we'll just dry those teeth a little bit. And mainly in the posterior segments. Okay, and then go ahead and close as if you were going to bite on the back. Slide forward and back and squeeze and just hold snug. You don't need to squeeze now. You're just holding snugly while that bite registration paste sets up. And so that also could be used as a centric relation record. We'll let the material set. It usually takes about 2 minutes for most bite registration pastes to set up. Okay, go ahead and open now. Very good. And these then, you just have to make sure you keep track of right and left. Could be used for your centric relation record. These should be trimmed way back so that you don't have the embrasures. They will interfere with the accuracy of your mounting. But that's one method that you can use to find centric relation, is the leaf gauge and some bite registration paste like that. So one of the methods that you can use to help the patient find centric relation is to use an anterior deprogrammer. Now, there's a number of different ways to make these. A very simple way is with snap acrylic. And so we're going to add the snap liquid to the powder. And just incorporate all of the powder into the liquid, and then you've got to wait a little bit and let it start to set. It'll start to gel where you can then knead it in this silicone mixing bowl. Your snap acrylic is starting to set to the point where you can knead it like dough. You can use this silicone mixing bowl to do just that. The reason we use snap acrylic or polyethyl methacrylate is because it doesn't heat up quite as much on setting, and it's dimensionally a little bit more accurate than polymethyl methacrylate or something like jet. Jet can be used, but it shrinks so much when it sets that your deprogrammer doesn't fit as well as it does with the polyethyl methacrylate like snap. So you get it about to that point where you've got a nice little doughy ball of material like that. And then we're simply going to form this around November's front teeth into a deprogrammer. We're going to make a little flat table right there just for those lower teeth. And we want to, I'm going to have you, November, don't close all the way, but as if you were going to close in the back, stop right there. I want this table to be roughly perpendicular to the long axis of the lower incisor teeth. Okay, you don't want the table tipped too much one way or the other. I can see it's just a little higher on the right. Go ahead and open, November. We're going to push that down just a little bit. And then just as if you were going to close in the back again. Very good. Now open. That's perfect. So we've got a little table here for those lower incisors to touch against. And we've basically just made a little acrylic deprogrammer that can then be used to help capture centric relation. Now, this takes just a minute or two to set. It's starting to set now. It's kind of at a rubbery stage, but it's always a good idea to just take it off, make sure it comes off okay, and then just set it back into place. They can, even with this material, it can warm up enough that it can be a little uncomfortable for the patient, so keep your fingers close to it, and if it does start to warm very much, why we'll remove it. Can you feel it at all warming, November, a little bit? Slightly, yeah, it's not too bad. If this were jet, it would get hot to the point where you couldn't touch it. Now it's starting to warm even more. Yeah. So if it gets, this is the final set stage. You don't want that to stay on, because that can burn the patient. So that is warm, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll keep it moving a little bit. And now another thing that you can do, if we just take it off completely, it may not fit very well. So one of the things, let's get our high volume suction over there. And one of the things we can do is just cool it off a little bit. With a little air water spray. There we go. And a little more suction. There we go. We'll just kind of keep it cooling. You okay, November? Good. So that air water spray is just pulling off some of the heat of the exothermic reaction. There we go. So that then becomes a little deprogrammer. And now, well, I'll keep that light off. I think you'll be able to see better. November, if you go ahead and close as if you're going to bite in the back, tap, tap, tap. Good. Now what we can do is with a little Madam Butterfly ribbon, we can kind of see how November is closing. So go ahead and open. Good. A little suction in the very back, please, Tanya. Okay. Sometimes these need to be trimmed a little bit. Go ahead and just tap, tap as if you were going to bite in the back. Tap, 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 and open. Good. There's a couple of green dots. Tap, tap, tap again, and open. Let's see if they're in the same place as our... Now, see, there's two different places, so that's telling us that she's biting around a little bit, which is very normal. The red dots are a little bit anterior to the green. So one thing a deprogrammer will do is go ahead and close and slide forward and back, go back and forward. Now go right and left. And as November just moves her jaw in any direction that it'll go, forward, back, right, left, just go as far as it will go in every direction. It should start to form an apex or a V back at the back of it. That becomes basically the centric relation position. So let's look at it now. Go ahead and open. Notice how there is an apex back near the back. Now we're getting a little contact over here, and that might interfere with what we're doing. So I am going to trim this off over here. Whoop. Okay. It's a little slippery. Deal suction there with that large volume suction there. Feel it come in behind me?
Yep.
There we go. Perfect. But you can see how it's starting to form an apex back near the back side. And if indeed that is centric relation, that is the point at which both condyles are retruded, then we'll be able to verify that with a second color in just a minute. So we'll do this again. Okay. Now go ahead and just slide all, close and slide all around, November. Just rub, slide against that, tap, tap, move your jaw in all the places it wants to go. Very good. Forward, back. Now go ahead and open, and just as if you were going to bite way in the back, tap, 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 and open. That red mark should be right at the apex, just like that. So that's a pretty good indicator that indeed that is centric relation, because now when she closes, that red mark, that second color, is right at the apex of the little V that we made with the green. So now what we can do is with bite registration paste, if you'll get another tip on that, please, Tanya. And again, just as if you were going to bite in the back, November, just touch right there. That is perfect. Go ahead and open. Good. So we'll dry the teeth a little bit. Because there's a little more separation between the back teeth, which is just fine. This is a rotational position. We just need a little bit more material. So go ahead and close. She's closing right into that same spot every time. I don't know that you can see that right there. So what we'll do now is inject our material. Go ahead and open. There's two ways to do this. You can inject with her closed into that position, but you don't always get the same amount of coverage in your index. And so sometimes, and I prefer to do it this way, you have to work rather quickly. Okay, November, as if you're going to close in the back. Just touch and verify she's indeed in that retruded, or shouldn't call it retruded really. It's a seated condylar position that was very, very repeatable every time she'd close into that. So we'll let that bite registration material set. And that is another way, an additional way that we can capture centric relation. It's been about 2 minutes and our bite registration paste is firm. So we'll instruct our patient to open. Good, and you can close again, test that position. She's closing right into the same position repeatedly. That's another indicator that it's centric relation. She's not trying to fight or hunt for a different position. So open, close. She didn't have to think about it. It goes right to the same spot. So go ahead and open now, and we'll take our bite records off. And again, we would want to trim these for accuracy and mounting, but this again is another method in addition to the leaf gauge. It's a little more separation, but again, it's a pivotal position, so it doesn't matter at what vertical you take it. So one final method. This is the Lucia Jig, and all it is, it's a smaller version of this deprogrammer that we made with Snap. It's a pre-made little plastic jig, and all you need to do is load it. Let's put another tip on that bite registration paste. You can, if you want, you can put a little PVS adhesive on these if you're worried about them separating. You don't always have to do that, but the idea is to simply put a little PVS material where those incisors would go, like that, and go ahead and open now, and we'll insert that. And again, the table is to be about 90 degrees to the long axis of these lower incisors. So go ahead, and as if you were going to close in the back, November. Good, right there. That's perfect. So just rest against that. You can tap a little bit there if you want to tap. There you go, perfect. And then we'll just let that set up also. So this bite registration material is also set, and there are a couple of other ways to help find centric relation. I don't use them as often, but many really good dentists do. One is to instruct the patient to touch the roof of their mouth with their tongue. They basically roll their tongue up and back. By doing so, it helps the condyle seat, or the